This is the HAN Network, the leader in local news, sports, arts, and entertainment in southwestern Connecticut.
The following is a presentation of the HAN Network, the leader for local news, sports, and entertainment in Fairfield and Westchester counties. Good afternoon, everyone. Live from the Norwalk Inn in Norwalk, proudly in Fairfield County, this is the FCIAC's press conference to announce the relationship with the HAN Network. I'm Rob Adams, happy to bring you along on this Tuesday afternoon and a very exciting press conference we have lined up for you. At the dais to my left is Marty Hersam, the Chief Executive Officer of the HAN Network, Dave Stewart, the sports editor of the New Canaan Advertiser and the web director of FCIAC.net. Dave Schultz is the athletic director of Fairfield Ludlow. He has been replaced by Mike King, who is the athletic director of Trumbull High School. And John Kuczo is the executive secretary of the FCIAC. And gentlemen, I will throw it over to you. Good afternoon, one and all.
Thank you, Rob. And welcome to everyone that's here representing the news media of Fairfield County and New Haven County to this unique press conference that is the first one in the history of our 53-year existence in the Fairfield County Athletic Conference. A very new partnership that we have developed and we bring into effect as of today. I'd like to turn this over now to Mike King, president of our league and the athletic director at Trumbull High School. Mike?
Just wanted to thank Marty and his crew for working pretty hard over the last 6 months to try to make this happen, and want to piggyback on what John said, that we're extremely excited about the partnership between his organization and the FCIAC, and I think that this is going to be something that is fantastic for all the schools in our league, and this is just, a great day.
Thank you, Mike. I would like to add to that too, but what we're going to see is an increased exposure of our athletes on all levels of sports and all male and female sports teams. Also, our schools, 17 schools in total, will have greater exposure with a fantastic number of live streaming of games starting on 9/11 during the opening season in the fall. And Marty?
John, thanks. Mike, thank you. And thanks to everybody at the FCIAC brass for having us here and holding this press conference for this announcement. We really do appreciate it. And we also look forward to this. This relationship was a long time coming, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention Dave Stewart to my left, who has done an amazing job, in my estimation, as the web director for FCIAC.net. And I would like to thank him, because I think it's progressed our relationship a lot quicker as a result of Dave's competency, and his hard work on that website has, I think, been a very, very important cog in getting us to this point with the FCIAC. So, Dave, I wanted to say thank you as well. So today is obviously a very important day for Hersam Acorn newspapers, now the HAN Network. The evolution of our company from a legacy media firm into a new media firm really does, in fact, begin today. And we waited a long time to do this launch, to wrap it around our announcement with the FCIAC. And the stepping off point was with Dave Stewart and his work with FCIAC.net, and then the incredible hard work of my staff, their backbreaking hard work over this last spring doing these broadcasts. Their collective and individual intellect is the only thing that's brought us to this point. It's not an easy process trying to broadcast. It is a very, very work-intensive effort, and it requires a lot of people to make that happen. And because of their hard work, I think that we built a trust with you guys, with the FCIAC, that felt, geez, these guys could actually do what they said they were going to set out to do, and that's a result, again, of my staff. So I'd like to thank my staff who's sitting back there and those who are actually watching this, so I really do appreciate it. Obviously, we sent out a press release today, and the FCIAC is arguably the premier conference in the state. in my humble opinion. The relationship that we intend to continue with the FCIAC is one of furthering their mission for their focus on the safety and of their student athletes, as well as the competitive athletic experience of those student athletes. So we look forward to being part of that. We look forward to exposing, that was probably a bad word, but exposing the amazing athletic accomplishments of these kids, the incredible hard work of the athletic directors within the FCIAC, the coaches, and even beyond the sidelines. We look forward to illuminating a lot of the stories that go beyond the sidelines with this broadcast effort. So we are incredibly excited about this. We are honored to be part of the FCIAC with our HAN network, and we're looking forward to big things this fall. John.
Thank you, Marty. Where do we go from here? Right away, we have already scheduled our HAN network has scheduled 30 games to be televised this fall. Last year, for the total year, we only had about 12 games scheduled by MSG, and that was not entirely their fault, but because of the Hurricane Sandy 2 years ago, did a number on the MSG network, which we know of as today as MSG Varsity. And they were a great group of people to work with, and they were very grateful to us for allowing them to come on the scene in Fairfield County. And now we're ready to make the big step that maybe we were wishing for years ago, but didn't know how to get there. And Hersam Acorn newspapers have taught us the way and brought us this far. I have to mention something that Marty mentioned, was that Dave Stewart has been an unbelievable representative of our league and the New Canaan Advertiser, really, where he is housed, but for all of the Hersam Acorn newspapers. He has kept all of our records, our scores on a daily basis. We don't even have to meet anymore to find out who's in first place or second place or anything else, because he's already done it. And it's all posted on a daily basis now. A couple of years ago, we tried getting it done once a week, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Dave has made it work every single day now. So we're very proud of you, Dave, and I'm sure that HAN Network now is also.
Indeed.
Now, should we announce our partnership?
Let's do it.
Okay. That's it.
That's it, John.
Handshake.
I think we should smoke a peace pipe.
But we do have a contract, and it specifies the monetary amounts that we will be dealing with. Some of it still has to be ironed out, but we do know that all of the games that are televised for live streaming in the fall, except for our league championship games, will be free. So there'll be no cost to any viewer during the regular season games. We will have a pay-to-view scale developed for our championship games, and that's it. And all other expenses will be paid through advertising. So we have to thank Mary Ann Hersam and her staff, her marketing staff, who I'm sure is out there busily seeking out numerous sponsors that we will advertise on the paid-for-view scale that we've developed, or Marty has developed for the fall.
They better be out there, John, selling and not watching this press conference. I can assure you that.
Okay. Well, one of the things is that they're for each advertiser, they will have a 3 15-second breaks during the course of a view, a 2-hour game. We'll say an average of a 2-hour game. So there'll be 3 breaks, and we hope to have quite a few advertisements going during the course of a game whenever there's a break in the game. Also, there are watermarks that could be established and we hope that some of our advertisers will take advantage of that.
Absolutely, John. There's a multitude of advertising and marketing opportunities on these broadcasts. Also, I'd like to speak to the fact that in addition to what we will be doing and we will be broadcasting with our team, we are actively looking to work with the schools that have broadcast programs that are ready to actually start streaming their own content. We envision a large amount of games being broadcast, not necessarily by HAN Network, but by the individual schools, and we expect to aggregate that content into one large channel under FCIAC.net and HAN Network. That is a really exciting prospect because many of these schools have remarkable kids doing remarkable broadcasting, and we want to celebrate that as a community news organization. That is incredibly exciting to us. That's an opportunity for these students and the faculty to really showcase what are remarkably, I'm going to say remarkable one last time, remarkably evolved programs, and that will allow for new and exciting content. That again, when I talk about beyond the sidelines, there is a ton that we can do, but having these programs be able to produce content and then have it broadcast across all 18 of our websites, including FCIAC.net. Is an opportunity that didn't exist before, and we really look to celebrate what these kids are doing. So that's exciting as well. And I should also mention the platform that we are going with the broadcasting platform that we're going with is a company called Katapi. We've researched a number of platforms and used a number of platforms. This particular platform is designed really for to optimize the viewing experience for the end user. And for us to launch this program, we felt that we had to deliver the best product available, and we felt possible, and we felt that this was the best technology available to us. This particular technology, when we send our stream to them, they encode it in an array of formats, which makes it optimizes its viewing on virtually every device and every bandwidth at every second. It checks the viewer's experience 20,000 times a minute, and optimizes the from an HD quality viewing all the way down to 360. Am I using those terms correctly back there? Thank you. And in turn gives the consistent user experience, again, regardless of the device. It's device agnostic, but it also optimizes it for satellite on the off chance that we would need to share that feed with another broadcaster, as well as it gives us immediate access to Apple TV, Roku, Hulu Plus. It's even optimized for Netflix. I'm not sure why it would show up there, but I'm just letting you know that. And a variety of other platforms. So we're trying to maximize the audience that it will be available to, that the content will be available to, as well as aggregating the advertising across it. This particular platform allows us to V-tag the video content and database all of the advertising into a single database and then feed it out to the appropriate content as it's being broadcast. So we see that as a very, very, very exciting prospect to create a seamless advertising platform across the FCIAC and the HAN network. So there's a lot going on.
Just want to add to that we had a meeting this morning, all of our league athletic directors, and Marty spoke at the meeting, and we invited all the athletic directors to bring a teacher that is responsible for the videography of programs in their school. And I thought maybe there may be 4 or 5. I could name some of the people, and I was surprised that there were 10 teachers there today with their teachers, all of them willing to get involved in this, which means that the exposure will be so greatly enlarged from the 30 games that HAN Network will do to there's no end to what can happen. One school there told me that they're ready to do 25 games right now. So the 30 becomes 55. And some of them are also ready to do a half a dozen games, and some are ready to begin and are ready and anxious to get started. In the future, maybe not this year and maybe not next year, but in the near future, we could have as many as 300 games being televised in our league
Per season.
per season. Yes, so that's 900 games a year. Any advertiser that doesn't jump on that is crazy, because the amount of exposure that they get from something that can be viewed over and over and over again, because all of these games that are going to be streamed live will also be archived, so that they could go back to our first date, believe it or not, is September the 11th, and they could go back to September the 11th next year. Next year, September the 1st, they can go back to September the 11th, 2015, and see the game that was broadcast, or the games broadcast on that date. So we're very excited about this. We're excited about helping these teachers grow their program, develop students that can go on perhaps to college and take up broadcasting as a career. And one of the teachers told me today that the best student he had went off to college, became the head announcer at their games, and now is doing it professionally. So, we hope that if one kid is able to take advantage of this program, or one kid gets a college coach. Just think of the college coaches now that don't have to travel from upstate New York or Wisconsin or Florida or anywhere else, and all they got to do is tune up FCIAC.net and see a game that of a kid perhaps that they're looking at. So there are all kinds of possibilities here, and the kids that are in these programs that are being developed in the schools, what opportunities will be open for them in the near future? So we're open. There's so many things out there that this little partnership between the FCIAC and HAN Network, it can do nothing except grow bigger and bigger and bigger, and so will all the participants.
Very true, John. Yeah. So, and I excuse me, I did misspeak about 300 games. I meant 300 potential individual episodes, including games. So there is documentary content that some of these kids are producing, as well as short films and other things that would surround the league that we believe that we would be able to again aggregate. I keep using the word aggregate per season. So the content funnel, if you will, is sort of endless. So that is very, very exciting.
Want to take some questions?
Sure.
From the news media, any questions?
How long is the contract, John?
3 years. With an option for a 4th year.
Are you planning on also doing any kind of weekly shows? This Week in Football, just any kind of weekly shows in addition
Right.
to?
So the HAN Network is not exclusive to the FCIAC, by the way. We produce daily news, sports, and lifestyle content outside of the FCIAC. But every Friday during the fall, and we'll do the winter schedule when we're ready, whichever football game we're covering, we will set up that day 3 hours before the game, and we will have what we're calling FCIAC Game Day. So that will be our weekly program. Now that program, is important to note, is not exclusively for football. We will endeavor to interview kids and student athletes from every sport while we're on scene there, and then prep that content live. Film it live, and then prep that content for future use as well. So that'll be the initial kickoff, Dave, with regards to the weekly programming, FCIAC programming. Yeah.
George Albano, I've never heard you not have a question.
They answer them all. If you go on a certain day, let's say middle of October, you go on, how many games would be available? I think you were explaining to me earlier today that there could be like 6 games, your choice of 6, 7 games that you could pick from, girls soccer, cross country, whatever. How's that going to work?
Yeah. So George, how this would work is, again, this is the first step, and then the long view. So I'll give you the first step is that the schools that are ready to actually stream, and many of them are already able to stream their own content. What we're going to do is we will take the URL for wherever they're streaming, and we will put it on FCIAC.net as well as on our other 18 platforms. And so if our game is playing and someone else is also doing it, what we'll do is say we'll have a live button on the site that say you can also watch this game at this time, and you can click it and it'll take you through to that school's stream. Now that's sort of the jury-rigged version of aggregation of content. In the future, what that will be is that game will stream live on our Katapi platform. So there'll be multiple games. You'll see them in small windows playing simultaneously. Along with the game of the day will be in the larger frame, but if you can imagine 6 or 8 frames playing a video in them, that's what you'll see essentially. Yeah.
Click on it and get a larger.
And then you get the larger, and then you're off to the races. Yeah.
So let's say Norwalk High with their Bear Country News they have,
Yeah.
and they're doing a game on a Thursday afternoon, and you also have a game. That would be available live?
That would be available, assuming that, again, in the early stages, we will highlight their link and link you to that game, just so that the key is to make it easy for the user to find that content. And then in the future, they'll be part of our channel, which will play in a larger frame in the inside our sites. Yeah.
Right. So if a soccer parent, Norwalk High soccer parent, couldn't make that game that day, they were working in New York.
Right.
They would be able to watch that same time, 4 o'clock. They
4
click
o'clock,
on
they
it.
can tune in, and then that game will also be listed as an on-demand content as well. So if they missed it at 6 o'clock, as soon as that game ends, that game will be available for on-demand consumption. Yeah.
Which, George, really is what's so great about this, because family members, parents, if they're away on a business trip, or grandparents who live on the West Coast, or people who are overseas, they can see a live viewing of what they're missing with their grandson or their granddaughter, or whoever it is.
We've had instances with our live radio streaming where we were covering the FCIAC, was it Rob? Was it semifinals? We had the gentleman was in the air, flying from San Diego to back home to his home in Ridgefield. We were covering the Ridgefield game, and he was tweeting to us like, "Thank you for covering this game," because it was available. Now with this platform, the same thing would be true, although you don't really get to stream video much on an airplane anymore. But
just to clarify, so these are
Sean.
yep.
Yeah, sorry, Sean Boley from Register. These are going to be free streamed live and then on demand later, or?
So the games that HAN is doing will be streamed live for free. That's regular season, Sean. So
Right.
And then the moment the game is over, that file will be available for consumption. Eric, literally like within seconds. Right?
Within 5 to 10 minutes after. It just needs to process on our platform. That's all.
Yeah.
But league championships will be
League championships will be behind a paywall live, and then we probably will embargo those for 24 to 48 hours before we let them go out for free. Yeah.
the CIAC still has their deal with their postseason, right? You guys have nothing to do with that.
We no longer have a relationship with NFHS, although that may be a discussion where we covered some games for them to fill some content holes they had in their schedule, and we're certainly open to that conversation as well.
So you're still looking. You could possibly still do stuff with them. Basically, you did stuff last year, but as of right now, you have no relationship with them. But there's a possibility.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, that's fine.
So Marty, the championship game, let's say the FCIAC football championship,
Right.
somebody can't make it, they wouldn't be able to watch that live. That would be, you were saying, 24 to 48 hours?
Well, no, they'd be able to watch it live for a nominal fee, which
Right,
I
okay.
encourage them to pay, by the way. But but
Oh, I see, okay.
yeah, but it would be available after that. Now, so it's important to note that the contract that I have with the FCIAC, the exclusivity of the broadcasting is really limited to postseason play. That's what MSG owned, and now that's what HAN Network owns. So to the extent that we're wading into regular season, we're making arrangements with the FCIAC to have access to those games. But for instance, if Staples is there, broadcasting their game, we may be shoulder to shoulder with those students doing the same thing, or we may work out a different schedule with Mike to make that happen. So that's really how that actually works. That's an important delineation between what we actually purchased and invested in the league versus
The archived version of the championship game, let's say the football championship game, if somebody chooses not to watch it that night or just can't watch it that night, wants to watch it 48 hours later,
It would
that
be
would be free?
free to watch. Yeah.
That would be free.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
just the
Yeah.
actual live segment
Yes.
would be paid for.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's a spoiler alert there, so somewhere. Right.
For somebody at the game, I
So-
don't watch
That's true.
at the game, just
Yeah.
watch the replay.
Exactly. Yeah. And speaking of replay, that's one additional upgrade that we also made, that we do have instant replay with our new platform as well. So that was something we didn't have as we waded into this in the spring. Right, Eric?
One of the questions that someone asked me was, how do you know this on a high school level if this is going to be a success or not? And I said, we only have really one game to base tremendous success on, and that was a football game that Hersam Acorn did on radio, and it happens to be our league football championship, and there were 16,800 listeners on radio. So we think that if there were 16,000 and a few more listening to it on a radio, how successful will it be, if they could watch it on their computer or an iPad or their iPhone or whatever, because you'll be able to pick these up on any of these here electronic instruments.
And when we moved away from our pay-per-view platform from the spring to our current platform, we had been doing some testing on it over the summer, and we covered the New England Babe Ruth championships that were held at Trumbull High School over the summer. And the semifinals and finals of those contests, we did well over 2,500 a game just for Babe Ruth in the middle of the summertime. So then we had a huge lead-in because Rob spent the entire weekend in the booth. We did how many games?
15
games, and we did 15 games, and only 3 of which were live video streamed, but the rest was on the radio. But so we had a good lead up to it. But that gives you an idea of how people will consume that content. So.
Hey, Martin. I'm noticing that you guys have a few non-FCIAC games on here. What's I know you and your company does cover other teams that are out of the league. What is that? What's involved for them, if anything?
So I was asked that, Sean. I was asked that question this morning. There's the prep game is. I'm going to have to defer to Rob because I can't remember why that's on our schedule. But it was a scheduling issue. But some of that early stuff is to shake the rust off at the beginning of the season. I mean, we've not broadcast football live, so we want to get out there and we've got all new equipment from the spring. We've got a couple of new processes in place that we want to test out before we go live on the 11th. So, we plugged in that prep game. I can't remember.
Yeah, the prep game got plugged in because it was a good matchup. That's what it came down
Right.
to. And
so it will be primarily FCIAC. I think your question is it will be primarily FCIAC, but we'll pick up a game here and there where we can for a good matchup. Always up for a good game.
Hi, I'm Katie Klein, a high school parent. This is all really exciting. My question is, how are you going to inform all the parents at all the schools that this is happening? I mean, I know about it, and my friend knows about it, but...
That's a great question. So we're going to hold a press conference. Okay, so no. So all these people, we're going to run out and tell everyone. No. So a couple of important steps. So we will use the power of our newspapers, obviously, to promote this in all of our markets. We will use our websites. We've got we have 104,000 print readers a week. We have 1.1 million uniques a month on our websites. 56,000 Twitter followers. We're gonna pound our chest about this to get the word out there. We're also doing a bus tour starting tomorrow, which we're going to visit all 17 FCIAC schools. It's a mobile studio. We're going to set up. We're going to videotape varsity coaches, varsity captains, cheerleaders. Hopefully some mascots will show up. We'll get some video of those guys and ladies. And we're going to, we have handouts, as you can see, to get the word out there. But we're not going to be shy about making sure folks know that this content is available to them and how to find it easily and hopefully enjoy it, obviously. So we'll be doing that, and to the extent that anyone's got any additional ideas beyond our current marketing platform, we're all ears. So, and we'll take any help we can get.
And that's where the partnership comes into it. The schools have a responsibility too, through their athletic departments, through the PTA, to spread the word and get it out there.
In addition to your 30 games, let's say the games that are listed here, will people know in advance that Staples soccer game, the Staples
Yes,
video,
so
their TV people?
So good question, George. So the interesting thing is that this morning's meetings with the broadcast journalism faculty, I was unaware that so many were ready to go. I knew of some of the schools, Staples in particular, Mike's program, were ready to go. And so this is going to take a faster coordination than I had anticipated. So the only way to do this properly is to get a schedule down with all of these schools that are ready to light their broadcast and then announce it. So we'll be working quickly to get that squared away. In fact, I'm hoping to meet on this bus tour over the next 7 days as we visit these schools, that we will be meeting with the AV folks and the broadcast folks to start to coordinate this. So we've got a schedule we can announce just like you have in front of you. So yeah. We've got like 9 HAN journalists in the room. Could someone throw me a softball question, please?
We're gonna depend on Dave Rudin with all his tweeting to get the word out, right, Dave? and Sean, Sean's gonna get new.
Speak of us kindly, gentlemen.
Any other questions? Mr. King, go ahead. Judge Sean, go ahead.
I'll ask later.
That's all right.
No. I'll ask later.
No comment, Sean. You can comment.
Well, I think that we've, yes.
What about the difference between covering the news aspect of the FCIAC and then the game aspect? Marty, it's something that we certainly talked a lot about in the office, and I think it's interesting.
Right, and as I put in the press release, there's an important aspect to this relationship with the FCIAC. As Dave Stewart started it, the FCIAC is in fact, it's a 501(c). It is focused on the safety and competitive atmosphere for their student athletes. We're behind that mission. We expect that when we're broadcasting FCIAC content, we will uphold that mission, as Dave Stewart has, to keep it about the league, the coaches, the athletes. If and when there is news, we will not back off of our obligation to cover the news as we would anything else. On our news side, it will not be reported on FCIAC.net. If there is news about the FCIAC, pleasant or unpleasant, actually unpleasant, it would be handled through our news departments. We have a highly competent news department. We have a highly competent news director in John Kovach. We know the difference between what we're doing here with the FCIAC and how to report the news, and we will be very vigilant about that.
We also talked about, I'm not sure whether Marty covered this or not, but we also talked about Thursday night 1 hour session where we would have a confab of maybe Mike, myself, Dave Stewart, maybe Dave Schultz, and other leaders of our league that would get together and talk about news in our league, and also bring in athletes, maybe other athletic directors, and talk. But a lot of these things are kind of adjuncts of what we'd like to do. And we did talk about Thursday nights. I think it was Thursday night, wasn't it? Maybe it was Thursday afternoon and they broadcast on Thursday nights. But that's where we are with that. Kyle? Nothing. Wow, you had a lot to say the other night. But I think we've ironed out a lot of the things that your concerns were, and that's where we are. So I want to thank. Go ahead, Sean. Come on. You gotta ask now. Go ahead.
You were talking about. You're making an appeal to advertisers. Where does all the advertising money go for an endeavor like this for your Martin's company and your league?
So we have the advertising money goes to basically two entities until the schools are up and running. So the answer is a bit of a moving target, and I don't mean to sound evasive, Sean, although I'm doing a pretty good job of it. The reality is that we have a revenue share understanding with the league, but now that the other schools are starting to would jump right in and start broadcasting, if we can aggregate some of that advertising across their content and we can properly measure it, it's important that those schools can share in that. There are a myriad of complications surrounding that, and the league, for instance, when this agreement started, we have a very specific percentage about how that's going to go.
Right now, to just further, well, we don't really know where this is going to go at this point, and it may take a full season for us to really analyze what kind of advertising money came in and what kind of money was generated on pay-to-view.
Yeah, and it's also important to remember that Hersam Acorn made a very serious and significant investment in the league to be sitting where we're sitting now. So the league is being monetized immediately with this relationship. So, there should be no ambiguity about this. The risk is really on HAN Network's side to make this work. So. We were not given some sort of hall pass to be involved in this. This was a very, very strategic investment on behalf of myself and my partner Tom Nash to go ahead and invest in the league. There is no guarantee that this is going to be a happy ending for Hersam Acorn. Although I'm confident I wouldn't have gone into it without really believing that we can make this work. So. That's important to remember because we are talking about money, we're talking about student athletes, and we're talking about schools. And I would be a very poor business person if I was going to make that investment and not to expect to get it back and then some. So,
Rob, question.
Sure.
You said, we were talking before. Launched your first one was the 2013 football championship game.
Right.
And since then, about 200 games total, FCIAC and even other like Babe Ruth tournaments. And
Right,
things.
George. In total sports broadcasts, we have surpassed 200. We're at about 210, I think, is what I saw following the conclusion of the Babe Ruth tournament, which was just I felt like I lived in Trumbull for a couple of days, which was a great blast. So, yeah, about 210 now.
This past academic year, 2014, 2015. High school, FCIAC, how many would you approximate say?
Oh, I would approximate, between football, I would say upwards of 70.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd have to double check my numbers, but it was a lot. And while I have the microphone, I just a quick moment because my football colleague, Chris Irway, is in the back of the room, and I wanted to make sure I gave him a mention as well. Chris and I will be the lead team on most of the football games. We were the team on the FCIAC championship broadcast in football last year, so I wanted to make sure I gave mention to Chris among many others.
Yes, Chris and Chris Kalin and some others have graciously volunteered their time as part of this project. That's been really important. And by the way, while we're having this conversation, Rob, we are actively looking for analysts, student analysts, for our field hockey and soccer coverage, as well as anybody else, any student broadcasters that have any interest in that. And we will be sending out an appeal for interns. We had a very robust intern program during the spring, and we look to expand on that. And we will obviously put the safety of the interns first when we're at sporting events. It can get kind of hairy, especially during baseball season. So we will be putting formal announcements out looking for those folks. So if anybody's watching, listening, or seeing this on demand in the next few days, we will be looking for you, and you can contact Eric Gendron at egendron@ncadvertiser.com. Or video at HersamAcorn.com.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And just to follow that up, I've had the great pleasure of bringing along a lot of young broadcasters that I'm extremely proud of what they've become, and I've worked with Mike Zito many times from Staples over the years, and the great work those guys do at WWPT. So to watch where some of these guys and girls have gone, it's exciting, and the opportunity to work with some new faces and get them out there, it's really a great time. We have Sean Saylor here as well, who's just been so great with us, and so a lot of good people. I look forward to developing more voices and faces that you'll see on the air. We welcome whomever wants to take a stab at this. I've trained many, and I'm excited about that.
We are, indeed. And it takes a lot of hands to do these broadcasts, so we use all the help we can get.
Well, thank you again, and thank you for attending, and we hope that we all have a successful year this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And this is Rob Adams. I will bring it back here. We have a special Nutmeg Sports coming up in just a moment. We'll be joined with many of the voices that you've heard right here on the dais. We will step out for a moment, and we will continue on from the Norwalk Inn. So Nutmeg Sports gets going right after this on HANradio.com. For now, I'm Rob Adams, back in just a moment.